Hey yo, what is up? This is NinjaGeek's. In this episode, I want to share with you 5 of my favourite games that I think are underrated in the board game community. These aren't the top 5 most underrated games, just ones that I really like and feel other gamers should play or look into and possibly have at least one of them in their collection. For each of the games, I'll give a brief overview of it and why I like it. Before we begin, if you like the content of these episodes, then please hit the subscribe button. I'll also put a link to a previous episode for my top 5 solo card games at the end of this video. Right, let's get started from 5 to 1. At number 5 is Warpgate, created by Wolf Designer. I received this as a Kickstarter after watching a preview from Nick Welford from Board Deck and Dice. For those of you that don't know Nick, he's the guy I used to dunk on in basketball at college. In this game, you control one of the many factions available where you need to deploy ships, explore new technologies and conquer planets to gain control of the galaxy and earn the most victory points. The game is fast, easy to learn, interactive amongst players with very little downtime. The game relies on hand management, where each round you start with 4 cards in your hand, each with 2 possible actions. The actions include moving your ships around the game board, deploying ships, gaining technology cards that boost some of the actions and taking trade actions. 2 of the biggest actions include the various types of attacks that can occur from small skirmishes to larger battles and gain controlling of multiple planets and subsequently the sectors to gain objective cards that provide big bonus victory points. Now each round, players take turns placing just 1 card from their hand onto their faction board and completing one of the 2 actions on it, with the round finishing when each of the players has played 4 of their cards. The game has a nice turn multiplier mechanic that determines the strength of your actions, such as how many ships you can move or how far they can travel. Therefore, the later in the round you complete an action, the more powerful it's going to be, so you do need to know your 1 times table. In this example, I play the skirmish card, and as it's my first card, X is 1, so my ship can move 1 hex. Later in the round, I play my 4th card, Warp In. Therefore, X is 4, so I can now place 4 ships at my warp gate. Battles are simple, where each player counts the number of ships involved and then draws and selects a tactic card using the multiplier and special bonuses on those cards, with the highest score winning. Each faction starts the game with a slightly varied deck of tactic cards, and more powerful cards can be added to it as the game progresses. This is a nice, fast-paced game with lots of action that is simple to learn, as all the actions are detailed on the cards. It's 1 to 4 player, although I think there is a 6-player big box, but I'm not sure if that was a Kickstarter exclusive or not. There's loads of replay value with lots of faction variations and board setups, and that's Warpgate. At number 4 is the Norse-themed game 9 Worlds from Medusa Games. This is a 2 to 6 player worker placement, Euro, area control, war game. Yep, it's got everything. And you can even play as the mighty Odin. Firstly, the board is great. It's really big with nice abstract work showing the 9 worlds of Norse mythology, Valhalla and Helheim. In this game, each player controls a god and pits their minions to work to take control of the worlds. Each player has a number of actions to use, and that varies each round dependent on the turn order or if they control their home world. Most actions are spent to move coloured stones that represent your minions into the board and around to the various worlds. Other actions can include moving other players' units, but that cost is dependent on whether yours or your other player's avatar is present at that area. To control a world, it first needs to have at least 5 stones on it at the end of the round. Starting with the current player, each player removes 1 stone of their colour from the world until there are 5 left. In this example, there are 3 blue and 3 red stones on this world. As red is the current player, they have to remove 1 of their stones, resulting in them losing, so blue now controls this world. In this next example, this is where sneaky tactics come in. Here, red has 4 stones in this world, blue has 3 and yellow has just 1. It's the yellow player's turn, and for their last action they move another stone into this contested world. They can't win this battle, but they can prevent others from gaining control. Red is the current player, so they remove a stone first, then blue, then yellow. This keeps happening until 5 stones are left. As a result, there is a tie and nobody gains control of the world thanks to that pesky yellow stone. Each of the 9 worlds has a unique power that only you can use if you control it, and as true with most Norse themed games, if you win battle you gain victory points for each of the stones sent to Valhalla. Other victory points are awarded for controlling worlds and having stones somewhere on the board too, and points are only scored every 3 rounds. This is a great family game with cool artwork and a game that forces some nice tactical play to gain control of the worlds for the victory points and their special powers. Now I really like Norse themed games, so maybe a little bit biased towards this one. It can be played in 6 or 9 rounds with a short training game provided there too. There is an expansion available which adds objective, treasure cards and victory points cards into the mix as well. 9 worlds. At number 3 is Hyperborea, and I was really surprised by how much I liked this game the first time I played it. Hyperborea is an ancient civilization that destroyed itself but was unreachable due to the magic barrier that surrounded it. This barrier has now gone, and the various factions in the game now wish to explore its ancient cities and ruins that still house the ghosts of the destroyed civilization. Hyperborea is a 2 to 6 player game where you take on the role of a leader of one of the unique factions available to gain control of these cities and ruins for their spoils. The game board is made up of multiple tiles that are placed face down, so players don't know what terrain type they are surrounded by or what bonuses are provided by any cities and ruins. The game's main mechanic is bag building, where during the game you draw coloured cubes from your own bag representing war, trade, movement, building, just to name a few dependent on the colour drawn. These cubes are placed in specific areas on the player faction mats where actions require cubes of a specific colours and others require cubes of any colour. Once an action line is filled, the action can then be carried out. This then creates a nice little action builder, as you can partially complete these areas so that in later turns you can then carry out very powerful turns by completing multiple actions. Each of the factions in the game favours a particular action type, so as the game progresses and you collect additional cubes, you can tailor your resources to your faction's strengths. However, this needs to take into consideration what your future goals are and what technology cards you've picked up along the way. Also, although each faction starts the game with the same coloured cubes in their bag, players are allowed to take one additional cube of their choice that can greatly affect how they wish to progress at the start of the game. However, although gaining technology cards can provide additional powerful action benefits, they also cause corruption to seep into your plans. Once you gain a card, you must add grey cubes to your own bag, and if drawn, in most cases, does nothing but clog your hand, wasting your resources and turn. Also, players can select to play the game with unique home tiles, and this creates asymmetry among the factions. Whether you battle ghosts or other players, attacking is also very simple. This allows you to control cities and ruins owned by other players, providing bonus abilities that you'll want to keep. However, doing so does lock your miniatures into that tile for the round, so forward thinking here is vital. The game offers resource management in a way that I'd never played before. When gaining cubes, you really do need to plan ahead or find yourself carrying out actions just for the sake of it. Careful planning can sometimes create some very powerful turns with lots of actions, which is very rewarding, and you can develop how you wish to play based on the contents of your bag. Each of the factions also comes with 2 special ability tiles where you select just one of those to use for the game depending on how you want to use that particular faction. During the game there are 7 ways to gain victory points to win the game, and I've played this game with as few as 2 players and as many as 6, and all of the games are enjoyable. The bag building and development mechanics work really well, and there are multiple options for actions just in case you don't actually draw what you need to. The artwork throughout is really good, and I really like the faction mats. The Red Duchy faction here, this artwork looks like some form of Chaos Warrior from Warhammer. Back and Slash Games are also re-releasing the expansion Light and Shadow in August later this year too. So if you like the idea of forward planning, area control, faction development through bag building, then definitely check out Hyperborea. And number 2 is Forge War from Isaac Childress. Now where have I heard that name before? Oh yeah, his latest campaign broke Kickstarter, and of course I'm talking about Frosthaven. Now I was torn between Forge War and Hyperborea at the number 2 spot, but chose this as it can be played solo and therefore just gets more plays. When buying this game, I judged a book by its cover, as the hammer and anvil artwork fired me up to buy this, and it's a steal, pun intended. Which is ironic because the game weighs the same as an anvil. There is a lot of content in this box. In Forge War, 1 to 4 players must gain resources such as metals and precious stones to forge weapons, equip adventurers and fight some nasty monsters. It's a heavy Euro game with lots going on, but note that most of the games I've played are solo. For the setup, the game is huge. A very big board and lots of tokens, cards and tiles. The game has 3 distinct phases where in the mining phase the Overseer meeples jump over the workers to gain resources of that tile type. Each player gets just 1 turn, but if the first player wants a second attempt, they lock themselves into last place for turn order. The second phase is the market phase, where players use a worker placement mechanic to forge weapons, gain and equip adventurers, or cards to provide special bonuses. In the last phase, players take on quests with equipped adventurers, and as the game progresses, more adventurers will be added to the multiple quests to gain the rewards. Now this game is huge and can be long, as it's played in multiple stages. After the first stage, the mine is completely changed, providing a different set of resources, with new decks available for the market area and quest slots. This then again changes in the third stage as well. Also, as adventurers level up, they can gain more powerful weapons and can also become champions. This means that title tokens providing special abilities can be slotted into these adventurers, of which there are 20 different titles. Other variants include bonus tiles that activate on certain rounds and provide additional bonuses, and I play with all these variants. Now, with all the games that I've mentioned so far, this is the one that requires the most forward planning, especially if you are playing solo play, where you must take a quest card each round. The game has an epic variant of 18 rounds and 3 stages, plus variants for shorter games, adding bonuses and even a fast forward variant so that you start the game with a little extra. The quality of the components is great, and it's really in-depth heavy game. There are times of analysis paralysis, and it's especially true during solo play, but doesn't stop me enjoying it. There is more player interaction than you might think, as you can always force players to take unwanted resources at the mining stage and block them taking actions during the market phase. The only thing that I don't really like is the Overseer meeples, who have these long whips and even longer mustachios. They look more like lion tamers than Overseers. Other than that, Forge War is a deep and complex resource management worker placement game by a seasoned game developer. The top spot is Abyss with this beautiful beast on the front. True story, this was bought by my buddy because he thought it looked like another one of our friends, and I'm really glad I've got ugly mates because I really like this game. In Abyss, you must expand your influence to gain allies, recruit lords who provide special abilities, and control locations to claim the throne of Abyss. The first thing you notice about this game is the artwork. It is by far some of the best I've seen in any game. The Lord cards, location tiles and board immediately draw you into this underwater world. On top of that, the setup is really quick, and so is the gameplay, yet it's still very immersive. As for the board, this is the exploration track where ally cards are drawn each round. The council area is here, where cards can be stored, and here is the court where the powerful lords sit. Abyss is a 2 to 4 player game that I feel plays better at the higher player count due to the bidding phase. Each round has 3 simple phases that include adding powerful lords to the court area, exploring the depths to gain allied race cards, purchasing lord cards and controlling locations. The game ends when one player has claimed their 7th lord or when the Lord draw deck is completely empty, with the winner being the player with the most influence points at the end of the game. So how do you get these victory points? Well, firstly, location tiles provide ways to gain a lot of points. However, they are difficult to take control of, but once gained, generally provide a way for you alone to gain influence points, such as having the most type of a specific alloyed race set at the end of the game. To claim a location tile, you first need to recruit Lord cards. These also provide endgame influence points, plus some form of special ability that is either immediate or ongoing. To recruit a Lord to your cause, you need to pay using the alloyed race cards gained during the previous phase. Each Lord instructs which and how many of the 5 different alloyed race cards are needed, plus a strength cost. Now, some of the Lord cards show key icons. If you ever have 3 keys showing, you must use them to unlock an available location. However, although you gain that location, each of the Lords used does get tucked underneath the tile, meaning any special ability it had are now lost, although you still gain the influence points from that Lord card later. Lastly, to gain an alloyed race card, there is a type of bidding or offering push your luck phase at the beginning of each round, so you can collect groups or individual cards specific for Lords you have your eye on, but don't delay, as other players could take the Lord before you. Here, pearls are used as currency in the game and can be given to you from other players if they buy an alloyed race card during your turn. There are also other ways for gaining keys and pearls that include fighting monsters that appear during the game as well. Although relatively simple, it really does make you think. The alloyed race cards you have determine which Lord you claim, and once you take a location tile, this then directs how your game needs to progress to gain those influence points as indicated on the tile. Also, it's sometimes a difficult decision when taking a Lord. Do you take the one with the 3rd key, but then risk losing special abilities of other 2 to claim that location tile? Although quite a light game, I find gameplay deep and involving with a very rich theme. There's a quick turnaround time, the components are nice, and I've played numerous times with my son, and he's as young as 9. There are also a few expansions available as well. The first one is Kraken, and that adds corrected resources that are worth negative influence points at the end of the game, plus new Lords, allies and location tiles as well. The Leviathan expansion adds a 5th player and big bad monster threats with more focus on fighting. The only thing I would like more of in this game is some lore to the world of Abyss. So Abyss hits my number 1 spot. If you think there are other games that you feel are underappreciated in the board game community, then please leave a comment in the link below and I'll look into them. This is Ninja Geek Games. Cheers.